Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, it is officially the off season.
Whoa. It's not the off season. Playoffs are just starting tonight. Let's go.
But for the sixth straight year, no playoffs in Ottawa. Pierre Dorion spoke to the media this morning. We'll break that down. DJ Smith spoke after we recorded Friday, so we'll get to that. But yes, Pilsy, it's also playoffs.
Yeah, round one starts tonight. 4 series will take place.
And let's get to meet our Sens Abroad. That's all coming up, and it's brought to you by Farm to Fork. Go to farm2forkdelivery.ca today. Amazing deals, the filet mignon. Use promo code SENS40 and get $40 off your first order. You will never go back to grocery store meats. This is the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 779 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Please like and subscribe to Locked On Senators. And if you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment below. Today's comment: what was your biggest takeaway from either DJ Smith Friday or Pierre Dorion this morning, either with the media, with TSN 1200? Lots of interesting tidbits we'll get to in today's show. Today is Monday, April 17th. And Pilsy, before we get to all that, it is the most wonderful time of the year. Round one of the playoffs. It's too much to keep track of to an extent, but it's hockey all day, every day for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, round one is my favorite by far, just because there's so many storylines. There's multiple games going on every single night, and there's always one upset, or maybe not quite an upset, Ross, but one series where you're like, didn't think this would go that way. So I can't wait to find out which series that's going to be, but there's some really tight matchups in round one here.
And if you think you can predict what's going to happen, head over to Twitter at Sens Central. We posted our NHL.com playoff bracket. Pilsy has one. I have one. They're eerily similar, Pilsy. We'll get to our picks in a moment, but go put your own bracket in. And if you're still wondering, who should my team be this postseason? Fret no more, Sens fans, because we got you covered. We enlisted the help of all of our Locked On colleagues, and they made their pitches to you of why Sens fans should jump on their bandwagon. Some used hashtag Sens Abroad. Some used the Canadian debate. Pilsy, I'll start there. Are you a fan of any Canadian team winning the Cup?
No, not really. I mean, there's one Canadian team that we'll get to that I wouldn't mind winning. I also have a future bet on them, so that makes sense. But no, I'm not one of those people that's like, if the Sens are out, I want the Toronto Maple Leafs to win because they're a part of Canada. No, screw that. I hate the Leafs.
To be fair, though, David Morassutti didn't have a whole lot of other angles to go down there when he made his pitch from Locked On Leafs.
Yeah, it's a tough task trying to get Sens fans to jump on the Leafs bandwagon, that's for sure.
Just wanted to say thank you to all our colleagues at Locked On NHL. 14 out of 16 teams participated, and one of the two that didn't got back to me and just said he was so sorry, just missed it by a millimeter. Hopefully, for Pilsy's sake, they don't miss much in the first round, but let's get to those picks then, okay? Should we go through our brackets one by one? Do you want to start with your Stanley Cup champion? I wish that we could battle it out. I wish that your Stanley Cup pick I had leaving in the first round, but unfortunately, you and I are on the same page a lot of the way here. So hopefully Mark Mathot, who will join us tomorrow, hopefully he's going to take all this and shake it up and throw it right back at us a different way. But who do you have winning the Cup?
I got the New York Rangers winning the Cup, Ross. And that turns a 7th round pick into a 6th round pick. All they need to do is win one round. So that is huge for your Ottawa Senators. And I teased it. I got one Canadian team I wouldn't mind going far and possibly winning, but I got the New York Rangers beating the Winnipeg Jets in the finals. I think the Jets can get it done here. This is a massive year for them. It seems like they have things in place on paper. Can they figure it out on the ice? Not sure yet, but I got Rangers Jets in the finals with the New York Rangers as your Stanley Cup champions.
Now, we both have future bets at FanDuel on the Winnipeg Jets, so we're riding with them either way. I have them winning the first round, but not any further than that. I'm glad it's you that has them going to the final, because otherwise it's just going to be homerism called. Everyone's going to be throwing tomatoes at us in the
Yeah.
comments. So I'm glad it's you. I got the New York Rangers beating the Edmonton Oilers, who I have beating Winnipeg in the second round. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. That's our Stanley Cup final. I've got the New York Rangers winning over Edmonton, and Pilsy has the New York Rangers beating the Winnipeg Jets. But first round, that's what starts tonight.
Yep.
I have to be honest. The first game they're starting with is the series I have the least amount of interest in, the Carolina Hurricanes and New York Islanders. Let's get that one out of the way. Who do you have and why?
I got the Hurricanes just because I think, as we know as Sens fans, the Carolina Hurricanes have a deep team. Every time the Sens play them, it's a major struggle for them. So I just think they're going to be able to beat up on a New York Islanders team that relies a lot on veterans kind of re-sparking themselves in the playoffs. But if the Islanders are going to have a chance, which I think that it's going to be a close series, it'll be all about Ilya Sorokin. Sorokin will decide the fate of the New York Islanders, but I just think in a possible 7-game series, the Carolina Hurricanes' depth is too much for them to handle.
I think the 7 games would give the Islanders advantage, at least tactically. I know this isn't the same Barry Trotz coach team that went to back-to-back Eastern Conference title games. I get it, or title series. I get that. But I still think Sorokin and Hellebuck, who we'll get to in the West, but I think those are the two best goalies in the playoffs when you don't have UC Saros in the mix. I know that Shesterkin's right there, and I've got him winning the Cup, so obviously I think highly of him too. Those three, pick them however you want, but I think they're all going to move past the first round because of that goaltending advantage. I think if you had Svechnikov in the mix, another scorer, I think without him, like we saw it with Ottawa, and you can get away with Ottawa. Like Stefan Nason's playing the top 6. Jordan Martinook was playing the top 6 at times. That's okay in the regular season when you're such a sturdy defensive team like the Hurricanes. Now, I'll kind of contradict myself. Where this could get messy is the Islanders' power play needs to produce. They're third last in the NHL all regular season, and the Hurricanes have the second best penalty kill. So they need their power play to come through. And if it doesn't, maybe I'm questioning that, but I got the Islanders in 7, and I think that we're going to see Ilya Sorokin steal at least 2 of those games.
Well, we'll move on, but to quickly counteract your Svechnikov point, no Barzal for the Islanders.
He's going to give it a try.
He's starting tonight?
I think he's listed as game time decision.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So we'll see. A 70% Barzal is better than not having him at all, but that could be a major factor here.
He will play game 1.
All right. Okay. Well, let's see how it goes then. I didn't think he was going to be ready this early. I thought maybe he'd come back, but this is interesting.
Power play specialist, Matthew Barzal. All right, Pilsy, let's move on to the other series then in the Metropolitan, the New Jersey Devils, New York Rangers. Obviously, we both have the Rangers moving on, but I think this is going to be a fun series, and I think the nastier it gets, the more it leans in the Devils' favor. So if you're the Rangers, try to use your experience and just don't look past them, because the Devils, I think they can muck it up a little bit. They've got a really big and physical defensive core too, and I think that they're going to want this game played in the trenches.
Big time. Yeah, I think this is one of the series I'm most excited about. I think these teams match up really well, but you've got a New York Rangers team where a lot of these guys have so much playoff experience, and they're veterans, yes, but not like the Islanders veterans where they're kind of on the downward trajectory of their career. These guys still got it popping. Tarasenko, Patty Kane, they still got it. And the New York Rangers decor, for my money, is one of the best in the league. And then you've got Shesterkin back there. I've got the Rangers in 6 here just because it's too much for a young Devils team that this is their first taste with this core really being in the playoffs here. So I got Rangers.
I have Rangers in 6, but if I were to lean even further, I'd say Rangers in 5 versus the other way around. I think that I think this is where the experience comes in, and where a guy like I think Patty Kane could be a game breaker here.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we've got the Metropolitan covered. Move to the Atlantic. Boston, Florida. Credit to Florida for playing hard down the stretch there. They finished so strong after Keith Tkachuk went scorched earth on Toronto radio.
Yeah.
I got them winning 1 game, but Pilsy, there could be a little bit more in their favor as Boston doesn't know their lineup tonight, doesn't know their goalie because a flu bug is going through the room.
Yep, and that's huge for the Florida Panthers. I got Boston in 6 as well, Ross, or did you say 5?
5.
Yeah, I got them in 6. I think they're going to be able to sneak a couple games here, especially with if the Bruins are dealing with some illness. But I mean, Alex Lyon as your starting goalie for this series up against the Bruins. Don't get me wrong, Lyon's numbers have been great, and we saw firsthand what he can do. But I just don't think it's enough up against one of the greatest teams in NHL history.
Tampa Bay has a chance to make a dynasty stretch even further. They made the finals 3 straight years, but are coming off their first loss of the 3. They've got the Toronto Maple Leafs. They struggled down the stretch, but you know who struggles? Toronto, getting out of the first round. I got Tampa in 7.
I got Tampa in 7 too. I think most of the world has Tampa in 7 if you've been following along with what this Maple Leafs team does in the playoffs. But Ross, I will say, and last year I went on about a 5-minute rant about how much I hate the Leafs and how it's guaranteed that they won't go on. And it was so direct and bold. I almost considered cutting it, Ross, but we left it in the episode and it rang true. So I'm glad I stuck to my guns there. But I will not be going on a definitive rant about how the Leafs are going to lose this year like I did last year. If there's a time they could beat Tampa, I think it's now, just because this Tampa team does not look like they used to. But Ross, and I know you love this term, Tampa is able to flip the switch in the playoffs, and they might do just that. And Vasilevsky versus Samsonov, that's a pretty clear winner there in goal.
Samsonov 1-6 in 7 career playoff games. Matt Murray nowhere to be seen, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I like your reverse psychology here. Last year it was like you guys can't do it. This year it's like, hey, I think you guys might be able to, but I'm still picking against you because until you prove it to me, you haven't proven anything at all. I got Tampa in 7. Pilsy has Tampa in 7. Moving to the West, we got such a packed show. Let's buzz through these. And a reminder: Locked On Sens NHL Bracket Challenge.
Yeah.
Let's go. Maybe some surprise wins. We're not guaranteeing anything, but you know what? Let's see how it goes. We'll do something for the winner, Pilsy. But let's get right to the Western Conference. Colorado in 5 games for me. Seattle, great story. I'm giving them 1 win at home, but I just think that Colorado, they've got more superstars on the ice at one time at any given moment if they have McKinnon, Ranton, and Makar than Seattle has in their franchise history. So I just think that's going to be too much, too soon, but good experience this year for Seattle.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like stick taps to Seattle, fun story. Like you, I've got Colorado in 5. I hope Seattle gets a win at home for those fans. That's exciting, but they are not ready to hang with defending Stanley Cup champions Colorado Avalanche.
Matty Beniers is like their Tim Stützle. I'm not saying he's at that level yet, but obviously a great rookie season, 57 points. Matching up against McKinnon when he's trying to defend a championship, whole different story. So Colorado in 5. You got 5 games as well?
Yes.
Okay. Dallas, Minnesota. I got Dallas in 7, but to me, this is as close to a coin flip series as we have, just because Minnesota plays such a staunch defensive game that I think they might be able to limit the offensive production of Dallas's top 6.
This is one of the series I'm most excited about. I think these two teams match up so good up against each other. I've got Dallas in 7 as well, Ross, just because I think they've got the veteran leadership. They've got the young guys coming up in Jason Robertson and some other players on the back end, like Heiskanen is really good. So I think it could go either way, but I'm on Dallas this year for this series.
Do we know yet if it's Fleury or Gustafsson starting game 1?
I don't know yet. Maybe we'll contact our guy, Seth Tupal from Locked On Wild, and he can get us some info. But that's going to be interesting to see what direction they go there, because the Fleury controversy in the playoffs with the Wild has been interesting.
It's been extremely interesting. Let's see where that heads. Dallas in 7 for me, Dallas in 7 for Pilsy. All right, I got Winnipeg in 6 games here. Winning it at home, albeit game 3. I'm so fired up. My first whiteout, rocking the Keith
Hell
Kachuk.
yeah.
I don't know if it's me talking myself into this, because Winnipeg was straight up bad in the second half of the season. They weren't okay. They were bad. They gave up leads. They allowed the first goal at one point in 16 out of 19 games. Like, they were playing from behind way too often, and Rick Bowness hockey thrives on when you're in the lead and in control of games. So they need to do a better job at getting out to early leads and giving Hellebuck some confidence, because I got a very interesting message back from Megan Chayka, who does a lot of great analytics work. And she said, who's the goalie of the playoffs? I said, Hellebuck. She sent me back a note basically showing that, yeah, he's unbelievable at stopping the puck above the average goaltender, but where he ranks in inner slot save percentage and scoring chances save percentage, so on the high danger shots, he ranks 26th and 52nd in the league. Ranks 52nd among goalies in inner slot save percentage. So if they can get to the dangerous areas, this might be a different story, but here's how I'm talking it in, Pilsy, too. Mark Stone's been out since January 12th. He'll be back. Sens Abroad, we'll get to next segment. They've had so many guys out at different times, whether it's Shea Theodore on the back end, whether it's been Pietrangelo, Jack Eichel missed almost
Their
20.
goaltending.
Like, they don't have as much chemistry, I think, with all these pieces that are in and out. So I think if Winnipeg is going to take this, it's because of this growth that they've kind of had up together. A lot of these pieces have some good chemistry and years playing together.
Yeah, and Ross, this is Jack Eichel's first ever playoff appearance. Isn't that wild? I mean, when you spend years wasting away in Buffalo, that'll happen, but we'll see how he does in the playoffs here. But I got Jets in 7. I think it's going to be a little bit closer, and I think we're going to see the Jets have a bit of a shaky landing like we've seen from the second half of this season, but ultimately, Hellebuck will help them get it done.
I just think that's a tough place to play in Game 7 in
Oh,
Vegas.
yeah. Yep.
This is going to be a battle of home ice advantage, too, because the whiteout is
Okay.
going to be sick. Remember when they played Anaheim in the playoffs and everyone was chanting Captain Rogaine at Ryan Getzlaf?
Nice. That's a good one.
So there's going to be some creativity going on here, I'm sure, in Winnipeg. All right, Pilsy, the final series, Edmonton, LA. I'm going to steal your line here. This is one of the series I'm most excited about because they each have firepower. But this Deneau matchup, I mean, McKinnon's been on record saying he's the toughest defensive forward to play with. So what better challenge to give him McDavid? Again, remember, this was a rematch of last year's first round. I'm so excited for this series because I think we could see the arrival. And I think Sens fans are comfortable, even if he turns into a good player, you still get Timmy. Dude, this could be the arrival of Quentin Byfield, I think, as a hockey player in this series. If LA is going to do well, he's playing on the top line with Kopitar.
Interesting. I'm not ready to go there yet. I think Byfield hasn't shown anything to prove that.
Hey, he's actually been a lot better in the second half of the season. We got to give him some props for it. I need to pull up here the game log. He was on a bit of a streak here. Oh no, not the end. The streak was over. But I will say there was a streak where he had 9 points in 10 games. Come on.
Okay, that's nice.
One goal.
He's going up against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Ross, the Edmonton Oilers had 3 players with over 100 points. I just think the LA Kings will put up a good fight, but ultimately Connor McDavid is so driven right now, they don't have what it takes to take them down. So I got Oilers in 6.
I got Oilers in 6 too. I was just trying to kind of play the other side there for a second, but yeah, I think it's going to be a fun series. I think that Korpisalo as well could be another X factor. Is he starting for sure? Who are they starting?
He's got to be starting. Yeah.
You got to think so. 921 save percentage, 7-3-1 since coming over from LA. All right, that's a first round playoff matchup. We'll quickly meet the Sens Abroad after this because we got to get to some Pierre Dorion, DJ Smith discussion as well. But it truly is the most wonderful time of the year. Playoffs, yeah, but also grilling season, Farm to Fork, Sens 40 promo code gets you $40 off your first order. Coming up next, let's meet the Sens Abroad, and then we'll hear from DJ Smith and Pierre Dorion, or give our thoughts on what they have to say. You are listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by friends over at Athletic Greens. You guys know I'm on the Athletic Greens train. I try to have it every single morning, and they make it easy for me to hit that goal, Ross, because you know me, I'm a simple guy. All it is 1 scoop of AG1 into your cup of water every morning, and you're going to get 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and more so you can start the day off right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, immune system, your energy, your recovery, your focus, and aging. All of those things, and it's lifestyle friendly. So whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, you can be assured that AG1 contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, or artificial anything, while still tasting great, in my opinion. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, guys, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance from Athletic Greens.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Farm to Fork. Farm to Fork is one of our favorite local sponsors, and for good reason as well. At Farm to Fork, they are easily the best place to go to because barbecue season is here, patio season is here. Dust off the back chairs. It's 20 degrees every day, and by going to Farm to Fork, you'll never have to stress about not having the perfect item to throw on the grill when that moment just comes, because you never know when you're going to be like, oh, you know what I could really go for right now? A steak. You know what else I could really go for right now? Some seafood. Throw some lobster on the grill. Best kind by for all our East Coast friends out there. But okay, let's go to farm to fork delivery.ca right now. By the way, it's the number 2, farm to fork. When you go to farm to fork, you are able to scroll super easy. I'm looking right now, 28 days, filet mignon steaks, 10 steaks, $200, $20 a steak. Oh, easily the greatest deal. They've got bundles, which are great. Pilsy's ordered his. His are in the mail. So get yours today. Sens 40 gets you $40 off. These items are individually vacuum wrapped, so you really do not have to worry about freshness. They're cut right from the butcher's table. Free and convenient delivery. They'll bring it right to you and give you notifications while your order is nearing your home. They've got ribeyes, all sorts of steaks. Their poultry is raised cage-free, air-chilled. Get some sockeye salmon and go all at farm2forkdelivery.ca. Use the promo code SENS40 for $40 off your first purchase. Taste the farm to fork difference. You will never go back to grocery store meats. All right, Pilsy. What do you say we get into our conversation about Pierre Dorion today? We'll meet the Sens Abroad at the end of the show. We got the graphic pulled up and everything, just like we do for the Sens lines, because I think it's kind of funny to learn where some of these old Senators are playing. Like, did you know Alex Galchenyuk is playing in the playoffs this year?
For who?
Colorado.
Oh, there's their answer. I did not know that.
We'll have some other fun names coming up on the other side. But Pilsy, Pierre Dorion spoke to the media this morning. I thought he was very candid. He gave them about half an hour of time. And Sens Chirp, I think, put it perfectly. He's like, didn't you get kind of job interview vibes out of that? Obviously, with the ownership changing, he's got to sell himself and the future of this team to a new party. Obviously, he and Melnyk had that meeting in Barbados we always hear about where the plan was devised. But now, I mean, that he was in sales mode a bit this morning.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be. Essentially, all of the potential bidders will be looking at what Pierre Dorion's saying, how he approaches the media, and kind of how the brand of the Ottawa Senators is being portrayed to the public, not just Sens fans, but the NHL community as a whole. So he's got to be careful what he says and how he approaches things, with this being a big off season for the Ottawa Senators, as I would say most the cupboard is stocked here. This roster is pretty set. There's just a couple fine tweaking things that he's going to have to do, but for the first time in a long time, he doesn't have that cap space that he's used to, and being able to kind of have free range of what and where he's going to allocate that money. It's a lot tighter of a budget here, as they're going to be a cap team, but they've already got a lot of players locked up in the future. So this offseason, while it may not be as many moves as we're used to, the moves and decisions he does make are going to be crucial.
He discussed all of the UFAs, which I want to get to, but Pillsy, make no mistake, there will be changes this offseason, right? We already know that there's going to be something in goal. I know he kind of disguised it by saying that it could be filled internally, but I think in a perfect world, like, look, Matt Sogard, I think he did a fine job filling in. I don't think that he would say he was 100% ready when that happened. I think a full year in Belleville would have been what the doctor ordered for him, but he went in and did a fine job. I don't think you can have a situation where you want to take a next step in the organization and you don't go out and get a goalie externally. They've already taken 2 swings with Matt Murray and Cam Talbot, but to me, we will see a veteran goalie brought into Ottawa this summer.
I agree. I think that's necessary. And DJ even said, look, I'm not getting down on Mads. Mads is the goalie of the future. He's going to take, DJ said, Dorion said, I think he's going to take over the realm eventually, which is a funny way to say that. But the thing is, he needs to find consistency. And I'm not just talking about the NHL, even at Belleville level, Ross, we've seen kind of the ups and the downs of Mads Sogard. And again, this is not me getting down on him. He's a young goalie, and I have the utmost faith in his potential. But if he was to be the 1A or even 1B guy next year with Anton Forsberg, it's too much too soon. If the Ottawa Senators need to take this next step, they need a veteran guy that can be a 1A, in my opinion. So the tandem cannot be Sogard and Forsberg going forward.
I completely agree.
At least next year.
At least next year. Yes, exactly. Beyond that, who knows? But also the uncertainty. Anton Forsberg is coming back from 2 torn MCLs, right? Both knees. Like, he's on the other side of 30. I think he still has some good years left, but you got to be sure next year. And the place where you're most sure has to be in goal. And yes, we can speculate about outside options all we want, but for now, let's look internally. Pulling up a graphic here, pending free agents. There's a lot of RFAs that need to get done. We're not going to go through each individually right now, but come the next few weeks on Locked On Senators, we will go through a lot of them and what kind of contracts we think they should get. But let's focus on the right side of this ledger right now. Patrick Brown, the door is somewhat open, I think.
It's unlocked.
I would almost
say that.
I would almost say it has to be like a two-way deal where he's making like $300K in the minors, right? Where it's like you're either going to be a top line, like go-to player in the minors. He's been a captain in the AHL before, or you're going to fight and grind and maybe be a guy who we put on waivers throughout the year if we need a more veteran presence to come up there. But I mean, he did his role fine, I guess, but he's a guy who we're not going to be doing a breaking news video if Patty Brown is re-signed this summer.
We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if we did that. But Patty Brown he's a guy that doesn't really move the needle for me too much. I thought he took up a lot of ice time that should have been allotted to Julien Gauthier, in my opinion. So if they do decide to keep him, cool. If they decide he doesn't really fit in, I don't think that's a big deal either. So, yeah.
The door is also open for Austin Watson, but based on him speaking about a multi-year deal that he was looking for on Friday, Dorion saying, no, if he comes back, if Travis Hamonic comes back, they would both be on 1-year contracts. Whereas with Derek Brassard, it would be a PTO where it would turn into a contract like he earned this year.
Yes.
Look, I'm not going to end his career. It's his decision. I don't think Brassard's going to spend the whole summer training back from a broken leg just to get a tryout at camp after hitting 1,000 games.
Yeah, I think, look, Derek Brassard's a competitor, and I think a lot of people wrote him off years ago, and he's kind of shown that he still has a role that he can play, at least this last season, but I don't think it's very likely we see Derek Brassard back in the NHL or even in Ottawa.
And again, we'll get to all these RFAs. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the full list. We're not going to touch each one because we got a lot to get to. This show is jam-packed. It's garbage bag day was Friday, and we had to record early on Friday. And then today, Pierre Dorion speaking to the media. What other than the updates on the UFAs and learning that by proxy without Cam Talbot, something's going to have to happen in goal. What was the biggest takeaway you had from Pierre Dorion?
Well, I didn't really see too many kind of, eye-popping quotes, Ross. You're much better at looking at quotes and picking them apart than I am, but...
we love Pierre Dorion, like, word of the day type thing.
If I hear that one more time, I'll go crazy.
Well, rest is a weapon. If I'll hear that one more time, I'll go crazy. We've got the...
We're a team.
We're a team, but today, my favorite one for Pierre Dorion. Guys, you can't have 20 Wayne Gretzky's on one team.
Yeah, I made note of that too. I like that one.
So that was good. But for me, and I know what we're getting to here is DJ Smith in the future.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same vote of confidence he got in November where he said DJ Smith is our coach for the foreseeable future. He said we're gonna evaluate what's to come if right, if he's even back. But they're both under contract for next year. So from that point, they're both getting paid either way.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think people are looking for more out of these quotes than there is because everything is uncertain until new ownership comes in. Like anything Dorion says or DJ says about their jobs is just them talking. Like no one knows anything until we finally get the new owner in place and you see what the new owners think. So I don't know. It's tough for me to really kind of nail down one quote and dig into it because I think Pierre Dorion is going to keep everything very close to his vest here as he needs to be careful what he says and how he aligns himself depending on who the new ownership group is going to be.
Yeah, fair enough. And I thought that an interesting nugget, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, you might say that this is me reading too into it, but where he said, look, I stay away from a lot of the coaching decisions, and that's not new by any means, but he did give a couple instances where he said he did give some guidance of certain players where he wanted Ridley Gregg to play 12 or 13 minutes. He said, other players, there was one other guy that he said he didn't want playing a small amount of ice time. Maybe.
He was referring to Brady back in the day, and then Timmy back in the day.
Yeah, well, with Timmy, I thought it was interesting. He wanted to give Timmy 100 games at wing. Seems
That was too many. Too many.
excessive.
Yeah.
82, which was what DJ wanted, I thought was even a little excessive. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But with DJ Smith, certainly it's an uncertain future for the GM and head coach until we get clarity on ownership, and it's going to stay that way. But look, either way, I think you can do a good, bad, and ugly with Pierre Dorion's moves in Ottawa, but there's no doubt, I think, in the minds of Sens fans that they are set up well. What I think some Sens fans might take not offense to, but I thought Ian asked a fair question kind of after the first bunch of questions where it was like, look, our culture is one of the best in the NHL, which you're not going to say that, but it really felt, he's like, this was a successful season. There was this, there's that. I really felt I was listening to a guy whose team just lost in the second or third round of the playoffs. Like, it's been 6 straight years without playoffs, and we're just like patting ourselves on the back. I thought that was, I mean, it's a job interview. I get it, but it just kind of, it didn't feel like it encapsulated how the fan base is really feeling.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think what he was trying to get at, and maybe he didn't do it the right way, is according to the plan that this team has had. Yeah, maybe you'd argue they're a year or two behind in the years of unparalleled success, but I think this team is set up to take the next step, and I think they are where they wanted to be after this season. So I think that's what he was trying to get at. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, when you miss the playoffs this many years in a row and you missed again, it's hard to be like, yeah, we're in a great spot here.
Like, nobody has lasted 6 straight years as a GM without that. So I thought Ian's question was fair. Look, it's something that's uncomfortable to ask, I'm sure, sitting in front of a guy, but it's like nobody in the Cap era has ever missed the playoffs 6 straight years and kept their job.
Lasted. Yep, it's true.
But you know what? I did think overall Pierre Dorion came off very well in both the press conference and then with the guys at TSN 1200 afterwards. So it's going to be interesting, and we'll be following it the whole way along here on Locked On Senators. It's really fascinating. Last summer it was like, look, we need big fish. We need the DeBrincat trade. We need Drew, and ultimately they go out and get Chychrun during the season, that top 4 defenseman, the elusive one. But they're able to do that. So now it's like, okay, you have the core. But look, you can have a strong core, but still not be able to, do any curls. You need every part of the muscle working perfectly, and that's what this team needs is that bottom 6. They need depth scoring. Like, nobody asked about Matthew Joseph. I thought that was interesting. He's talking about that. It's like, I know we always ask like, who are the prospects that are coming, like this and that, but like he said that there's no bad contracts. I'd say that $2.95 million for a guy with 0 even strength goals is a lot. But you know what? He also showed a lot of promise when he came over here initially. So maybe it was just a one-off. We'll see. But the bottom 6, the goaltending are 2 things that I'm going to be very interested to watch going forward. All right, on the other side, let's meet our Sens Abroad, Pilsy. It's that time of year. Which Ottawa Senator do you want to see win the Cup? And which team do you want to see win the Cup? A reminder, go check out yesterday's bonus Locked On Senators, wherever you get your podcast, where we had all of our local experts give their pitch on why you should cheer for them. All right, Locked On Senators, more after this. And today's episode is brought to you by my happy place. It's Shawarma Palace. You know how much I love Shawarma Palace. I go there first stop every time I go back to Ottawa. It really is the best place to grab a meal because economically, it's more affordable than going to the grocery store. For your taste buds, they'll thank you because you get literally the freshest ingredients, whether you get the chicken shawarma platter with extra garlic, whether you get the wrap, whether you go and get some baklava.
Balaclava is a ski mask you wear.
Can't eat baklava wearing a balaclava.
Yeah, there you go. What a combo.
Can't eat shawarma while you're wearing one either, but you can eat it at Shawarma Palace. It's Ottawa's best spot for shawarma since 1999. 97. Whether you go to my favorite location on Rideau Street, the vibes in there are always elite, or you head to one of their new locations, Bank and Hunt Club, Orleans, downtown on Bank Street near Baseball Town, you're never too far from a Shawarma Palace. If you go to Carlton, head to the food court. Like, my goodness, right there. And you can always order Shawarma Palace online as well through Uber Eats. So go there and have your Shawarma Palace. Eat like a champion, eat like a king. Do it at Shawarma Palace. All right, Pillsy. Oh, it sucks talking playoffs and not having the Ottawa Senators in it. I'm kind of like sick of Sens Abroad a little bit. I love following them. I'm excited. It is always kind of fun, and the hashtag on Twitter makes it easy for people to just click it, and you see highlights of, your JG Pageaus, your Mika Zibanejad, your Mark Stones, and so on and so forth. We'll get to that lineup in just a second. But before playoff talk, Pillsy, I do want to give a shout out to a few Ottawa Senators players this year. I think that one of the toughest things to do in a league like the Ottawa Senators, and by the way, we didn't touch on Alex DeBrincat. They obviously want to sign him long term. We're going to have a full episode discussing this.
Multiple episodes.
It's the biggest storyline. It really is.
Yeah.
We understand that. So we're not ignoring the elephant in the room, but I do think it's all good to just kind of let it simmer for a little while. However, Alex DeBrincat is one of the 5 Ottawa Senator players I want to shout out right now, Pillsy. Playing all 82 games is not easy. And I think these guys deserve a lot of credit. Should we do a little trivia? Who were the 5 Ottawa Senators that played all 82, Pillsy? Do you know?
I haven't looked into this, so this will be a honest guess. I'm going to say Alex DeBrincat was one of them.
Okay.
Brady Tkachuk?
Yes.
Claude Giroux?
Yes.
Jake Sanderson?
No. 77. Remember he had that little thing that kept him out for a week? 2 more. I've got one hint for you if you'd like.
Drake Batherson.
Yes.
That's all I got.
Shane Pinto.
Oh, wow. That's huge for Pinner. Nice.
Not only that, but Batherson missed a large portion of last year as well. So those guys proving their injury history is in the past. So all 82 games for Tkachuk, Giroux, DeBrincat, Batherson, and Pinto. Super impressive longevity for those guys being able to, go through the rigors. And let's be clear, a lot of those guys, especially Brady, played hurt throughout this.
Oh, definitely Brady. Yep.
So I just think that's impressive. All right, turning our attention, Pillsy, besides, and I know we did our picks and everything, but which former Senator would you get the most pride in watching lift the Stanley Cup? I know back in the day, I was so excited when Ray Emery finally won the Cup with Chicago. It does, I think, and Marian Hossa when he finally won the Cup after all that he had been through after Ottawa as well. But who's a guy to you that would be obviously you have the Jets beating Vegas in the first round, but is it Mark Stone? Is it Pageau? Who to you exemplifies that Sens Abroad feeling for kind of taking pride in a former player?
It's Mark Stone for me. I mean, you just teased it there, but this is a guy that if he had signed here and signed long term, and it's interesting to kind of glimpse at this alternate reality, but he's probably wearing the C for the Ottawa Senators here. And Brady Tkachuk, I think, would have no issue with that, as that's a guy that he looked up to. Mark Stone kind of brought Brady into the league. He lived with them, and he was a guy that, the Pageau one was tough, but you knew it wasn't going to work out, and he was going to get a big contract that didn't make sense for the Sens timeline. But Mark Stone was one of those guys that, even though they were rebuilding, he really seemed like he fit in here, and he could have been a guy that, much like Claude Giroux, but in a different sense, kind of helped this young core grow and show them the right ways to play and things like that. So if we could see Mark Stone lift the cup, I think that would be my number one guy.
Yeah, that would be pretty special, I think, after, I think the way he left here, like, no animosity, obviously, but when you look at it a little bit deeper too, like he could have been that captain that I think a lot of Sens fans had penciled him in on. The entire Sens Abroad lineup, and my answer will be JG Pageau. I just think that, well, for one, he'd be bringing the cup back to Ottawa, right? He's got the hometown factor in the mix there. I think that has some play for me, and just an awesome player. And you know what? for Nick Paul to join a team that won back-to-back cups, like I don't really want to see Tampa win it again, but he hasn't won one yet with them. So I do think that would be kind of cool. I wasn't fast enough on the graphics, so we'll have to go with my tweet yesterday at Sens Central. Mika Zibanejad with Anthony Duclair and Mark Stone is your top line of Sens Abroad. We've got JG Pajot, Nick Paul, and Evgeny Dadonov. Talk about a resurgence since moving to Dallas. This
guy,
he's been unreal.
Yep. I mean, he just couldn't play in Montreal. No one can.
Okay, so get this. Colin White, who's playing the fourth line in Florida. Okay, we get that. 2 Sens casts off. Maybe afterthoughts. Steven Nason is playing on the top 6 of the Carolina Hurricanes, the Metro champs, and Michael Amadio is playing in the top 6 for the Vegas Golden Knights, Western Conference champions.
That's crazy.
And we've got Nick Foligno with Derek Stepan and Tyler Mott. I do think that Nick Foligno would be a fun one as well. Just one of the good guys in the game. We're going to have the guy he was traded for, Mark Mathot, on tomorrow's show, but I think that he would be another fun one. You got Curtis Lazar, Alex Galchenyuk, and Vlad Nemesnikov with the Jets as well. Dylan DeMello with the Jets. I'm sure a lot of Sens fans would like to see him do well. Ian Cole, I just put in there to even it out. Obviously, he was traded to
Legendary Sens.
Ottawa. Yeah, and a little bit of a joke. And Ben Harper, credit to him for finding a spot in the NHL with Cody Ceci. In goal, we've got Philip Gustafson, Brian Elliott, who will not play a single game if Tampa's going to do well.
Yep.
And I put Matt Murray on IR. I should have also not forget it. Joey Decord is backing up right now.
Yes.
In Seattle. Imagine the party he'd put on social media if he won the cup.
Oh, he'd be bringing it back to ASU for the Sun Devils for sure.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious. All right, so that's your Sens Abroad. Obviously, it's not the same as it was in the bubble where we could fill out a full lineup and it was like Duchesne, it was Carlson, it was all these big names that were in the mix. But that's the Sens Abroad. So you got Mark Stone as the guy you'd like to most see lift the cup. I got JG Pajot personally, but I don't think either of them will.
And Ross, hopefully next year we're not doing hashtag Sens Abroad. We're doing hashtag Sens Aboard.
I'm so jealous of everyone who's covering playoffs right now.
Oh, must be nice. We haven't covered a single playoff game in 779 episodes of this podcast. Ugh.
Wow. When you put it that way, it's gotta go. Tomorrow we'll be back and we'll officially give our good luck to the Tampa Bay Lightning. But we also have Mark Mathot. He's put in a bracket at the Locked On Senators League.
Oh, nice.
Mark's picks. We're going to go record with him right now. A playoff preview coming with a man who's played many playoff games and scored 2 playoff winning goals, game-winning goals. It's Mark Mathot coming up tomorrow on Locked On Senators. Pillsy, any final thoughts before we go?
Final thoughts are, it's tough for Sens fans, but for all the hockey fans in us, just enjoy the playoffs. Go to FanDuel, get some skin in the game, and here we go.
Here we go. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.